Let's talk to Joe B about all this. I guess a little bit about the game yesterday. They did beat the Miami Dolphins. I was in the building for most of it, and it was very, very cold. But the Joe B Football Monday call-in is brought to you by Empire City Casino. Winners play here. By Approved Oil. Lock in your low oil rate at freezetherate.com and by HL Gross Jewelers of Garden City. Bro, another season where we don't win a championship. How are you?
I'm all right. Let me just say this. You guys are 100% right. We got hosed again by the Patriots. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I feel bad for Gerard Mayo, who got, a guy got screwed. I mean, let's be honest about it. Mm-hmm. What did you expect for him in the first year with a rookie quarterback and, a team that wasn't expected to do anything? And, of course, Vrabel has the interview with the Jets. It goes well. You're hearing both sides really came out very happy, very impressed with each other. And then 2 days later, Kraft says, I'll get rid of Mayo so I can set it up for Vrabel. What a surprise.
There's one, and I admit, Joe, I think this is like 20%. I don't think it's very high. One possibility that they end up falling in love with Ben Johnson, thinking he's the great offensive mind. We'll pair him with Drake May. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, don't you think Vrabel is pissed off himself and says, okay, all right, you want to take this little punk as your head coach who's done nothing? I'll go to the Jets, and I'll haunt you for the next decade. That's the one small possibility where maybe we come out of this with some success here.
Well, I'd be thrilled to see that. I mean, the one thing I will say about Vrabel going to New England is basically, look, he's following Belichick. I mean, I understand Mayo was there for 1 year, but come on. I mean, this is the guy that's basically following is basically Bill's successor.
Right.
And those are extremely large shoes to fill. Whereas if you come to the Jets, let's be honest, there's only one way to go. I mean, come on. You only can go up. You know what I mean?
No, you're right about that. But I think if he goes to New England, it feels like, at least for Robert Kraft, that he's bringing home
like
a quality coach. But I think no matter where he goes, he's going to be his own guy. So it doesn't even matter. And the most important thing is, what is his staff going to be like? This game, Joe, I mean, it didn't mean anything. And ultimately, it didn't end up meaning anything for the Dolphins because the Broncos destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs, who didn't even show up. Right? They had a high school team out there playing 38 to nothing. But I mean, the game was interesting only because Aaron actually looked okay, right? And I know we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I've had this conversation subsequently. Who do you want to be your quarterback next year? And Aaron Rodgers seems to be the guy that makes the most sense, even if he's just going to be a bridge for a year. Did yesterday change your thought on him, especially in the red zone? You know what I mean?
No, I've been down with Rodgers all year. I want Rodgers back. I've been saying that for a long time. I mean, even after the crummy performance in Buffalo. I mean, look, this is the best season I've seen a Jet quarterback have in 10 years. I mean, come on, since Fitzpatrick had his big year, in 2015. So, yeah, I want him back. I mean, come on, he gives us our best chance to win. You say whatever you want. I mean, he threw the third most touchdown passes in the history of the franchise, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. I know he did it in 17 games. But, yeah, I want it back. This team has talent. We've said this all along. You get the right coach in here, and let's run it back for a year with Aaron. Let's get Devontae back, who's still got a lot left in the tank as well. Let's straighten out things with Garrett Wilson for all his complaining. Right. Caught 100 passes for 1,100 yards.
True. It's weird because that's the thing I would worry about is the Garrett Wilson dynamic. Mm-hmm. And I know we joked about this in the preseason, how they were, terse with each other. And we didn't know if they were putting on a work or if it was actually, it turns out it's probably actually a serious disagreement in some capacity. But getting that worked out, I think, is the biggest thing for the offseason as it pertains to Aaron Rodgers, if you're going to keep him.
Well, look, I think it's all about winning for Wilson. I mean, he did a lot of winning at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. He comes to here, and it's a losing season every year. I think that it's more about that than anything else with him. I really do. And then, look, again, to me, they got to hit it right this time with the head coach. There can be they can't miss here. They got to get this right. I'm all for Rodgers coming back. I've said that for a long time. I don't see where we're getting better quarterback play than we're going to get with him next year. You want to try to make a move. I mean, look, if J.J. McCarthy's available and you want to try to trade to get him, if Minnesota lets him go, I don't know what happens with Donald. Didn't look too good last night. But then again, to me, the Lions are on their way to the Super Bowl. So But, I want Rodgers back. No question about it.
We're talking to Joe B. All right, so the Jets have 12 guys that they've either requested an interview for head coach or they've already interviewed. We're going to go through every guy. I'm curious your opinion on all of them. All right?
No.
Number one.
Short answer.
All right, number one, Mike Vrabel. That's your number one choice?
In.
Number two, they've already interviewed this guy. I'm against him. I'm curious what your thoughts. Ron Rivera.
No. Absolute no.
All right. Tomorrow they are scheduled to interview Rex Ryan. Your thoughts on bringing Rex back now?
Bring him in. I'm in.
They will have requested an interview with Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores.
In. 100%.
Josh McCown, our former quarterback from years ago.
To be the head coach or to be like a quarterback coach or coordinator?
He's interviewing for the head coaching job, but I can see it turning into what you just said.
Right. I like McCown a lot. I don't know if I'd like him as a head coach because I'm very skeptical of a first-time guy, but I do like McCown.
He's Minnesota, right? Quarterback coach?
Is that where he is? I'm not even sure. I think you're right about that.
So, yeah. But to your point, he's a quarterback's coach. So you're talking about making a pretty big jump to now being the head guy.
Yeah, but I feel like he's been on this track and this conversation for a couple of years now.
I think you're right, T.
I think he almost had an interview last year, or maybe something like that. But I think he is in Minnesota. And
yes, you are correct. He was the quarterback coach in Carolina, where I thought they wanted to hire him. Weren't they the team who wanted to hire him immediately?
That's what I was thinking of, the Carolina Panthers. But I know that he's been a big part of Sam Darnold's success this year.
Right.
And obviously, we credit Kevin O'Connell because he's the de facto OC and head coach. But I think he's done a good job as well as a quarterback coach down there.
So you're interested?
I like McCown.
I do too.
He's interesting. I'll say that for a first-time guy.
All right, Joe Brady.
No, Joe Brady looks real good when he's, at LSU with Joe Burrow or when he's in Buffalo with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
This is what I call the Brian Costello special because I think Brian recommended
him.
Matt
Nagy?
Matt Nagy, yes.
No. No. And if Costello wants him, I sure as hell don't. I got to tell you right now, one of the things I love about Rex and Rodgers is that the media doesn't want these guys, which makes me want them all the more.
Well, just remember this about Matt Nagy, since this is what I hear from John Mara and Sean Morash. Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year. So doesn't that make you like an amazing coach, right, Sean?
I'm off the charts, bro.
All right. No, I'm with you on that, obviously.
Right.
Arthur Smith.
No. Offensive coordinator, maybe. No, not as a head coach.
Brian Griese.
Brian Griese.
I know. Yeah. I was surprised too. He's the quarterback's coach of the Niners. That's where he's
Brian Griese.
I don't think he's ready yet.
No.
But he's an interesting name to keep an eye on.
Yeah, because his father's a Hall of Famer.
Right, over the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, okay.
Look for him, but I don't know.
It's funny. Joe's reaction to Brian Griese was mine when I read it. I was like, what? Yeah, and then he's the quarterback's coach of the Niners, so maybe he's on the rise.
He hasn't exactly done a great job with Brock Purdy this year.
Well, Brock's been hurt. That's a problem.
And if we're stupid enough to let Rodgers go, he'll be the quarterback coach for him next year as he's leading the Niners to the Super Bowl.
Maybe.
That's certainly a possibility.
Oh, of course.
Vance Joseph.
Really? Now, he did... What was it? Denver that he was the head coach of for a while.
Yep.
Denver, and then they brought him back
as defensive
coordinator, and they've been they led the league in sacks this year, I think.
Yeah. I'll tell you. No. I look.
Just say no. Just say no, Joe. The answer's
no. No, the answer is no. No, the answer is no. Thank you, T.
He helps you out.
I think I'd rather have you coach the team, to be honest with you.
I got a couple more. Bobby Slowick. Aren't you high on Bobby Slowick?
I am. He had a little, something interesting happened.
He's with the Texans, right?
But Joe, listen. So earlier this, 2 years ago, we had them, and I was high on Bobby Slowick because of how good C.J. Stroud was playing. The very next year, which was this season, we asked C.J. Stroud about his relationship with Bobby Slowick, and he's like, yeah, we got to rebuild the trust. I'm like, wait a second.
Oh, geez.
A year ago.
Is that what he said?
Yes. I was like, a year ago, you were like simpatico. He was winning the Rookie of the Year, and you were the hottest head coaching candidate, Bobby, and now you got to rebuild the trust. What the hell happened in 6 months?
Yeah. That's weird, yeah.
So it was just, it was a little bit weird. So I got off the train a little bit. Now, he's still a good coordinator, but there's just I don't know, something I need to personally just figure out what went wrong there.
Bobby Slowick is a no for me.
Okay, and finally, and this guy, if I had to guess, I think he's going to get the job, and that's Aaron Glenn.
My thoughts on Aaron Glenn: he was a very good player for us. There's no doubt one of the better corners we ever had. Even though he was the guy that got burned on the spike play with Ingram, with Marino. But I let that go.
Why you got to bring up old stuff, Joe?
I kept Tiki. The scars on my body.
That's a big one too. That's a forever scar.
I was at that game too. By the way, we were up 24-6 in that game, and I won't get into what happened after that point because Boomer will get mad at me. But nevertheless, okay. So Aaron Glenn was probably, only because of the Jet connection, the one guy that is not a former head coach who I would consider. I'll say that.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you. And I was explaining this to Tiki, that this goes all the way back now to Herm Edwards, where all they do is bring in first-time head coaches with experience on the defensive side.
Yep.
And look, some of those guys were good. Herm was good. Rex was
Herm was good.
I'm not like
playoffs 3 times.
Sure, even Mangini had 2 winning seasons and made the playoffs.
Right.
Lately, it's obviously been really bad when you look at Robert Saleh and Todd Bowles.
Right.
Adam Gase has been the one person who didn't fit the mold of first-time defensive coaches. So my natural reaction is to say, are we really doing this again? But the fact that he played for us, the fact he was a good player, and the fact that
he was,
it feels like there's a trend towards former players as head coaches, and it's working. That's the only thing that sort of makes me like, all right, maybe.
Well, he's got a feel for what the Jet situation is. So, I mean, from that aspect, I wouldn't completely rule him out.
Yeah.
I'd still rather have, look, the guys I really like are Vrabel. I still love Rex. I do. Brian Flores, I absolutely love him. I see Mike Tomlin all over him. Those are the 3 guys I really would want the most, to be honest.
So, speaking of Mike Tomlin, I bring him up because there's.
I'm driving. You and I will go together to Pittsburgh to bring Mike Tomlin here. Mike Tomlin could be. Now, you know how I feel about guys that would be leaving one coach, one job, and immediately going to the next one.
Yeah.
I throw that rule out with Mike Tomlin.
So there was a report. Adam Schefter
There's
reported.
nobody I'd rather have coach the team than Mike.
By the way, I agree with you.
Nobody.
I love Mike. I think he's the best coach in the league. I know that they're struggling and they're probably going to get knocked out in the first round, but nevertheless, the consistency.
Don't be so sure about that. I mean, I think the last team the Ravens want to see is them.
You think they're going to beat Baltimore?
Especially coming off a 4-game losing streak.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's both ways, though, Joe. I think the last team the Ravens want to see is the Steelers. The last team the Steelers want to see is the Ravens.
Yeah, they probably play the Texans.
It's just
and if you don't have Amazon, none of us are going to see it. So what a joke that is.
Well said. That's awesome. So there was a report. Adam Schefter reported teams are going to try to trade for Mike Tomlin, and Jay Glazer reported teams are going to try to trade for Kevin O'Connell, who only has 1 year left in Minnesota. Would you want to use a top pick? Because I think it would cost a lot.
Yes.
I'll
give him. Here's my trade for Mike Tomlin. Okay.
Yeah.
I will give them the number 1 pick this year and Sauce Gardner. Let's go.
Wow.
I mean, Tomlin's that good. Tomlin is that good. You get a coach changes everything.
If I could have Peaky, if there was one guy, you said, Joe, anybody, doesn't matter if he's coaching now, whatever, give me one guy you want coaching your team. It's Mike Tomlin. If I saw him on the side, I mean, he's a killer. I mean, my God.
Well, he's also
got
such
that
a good
look.
Teacher. Yeah,
I mean, he'd be kicking everybody's rear end.
Right.
Oh my God! And I think he'd want Rodgers too because he'd want to win, right? I mean, he's Rodgers is much better than Russell Wilson. Let's be honest about it. I think he would take Rodgers in a second to be the quarterback.
What about O'Connell? Would you move hell and high water to get him?
I like O'Connell. But here's my worry with O'Connell, what I said before. He's coming directly from another team, and he's not Mike Tomlin.
I got you. Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's the exception to every rule that there is, in my mind.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and let me say this.
Yeah.
The Steelers are not. You have to be nuts. And I understand they're ending the year on a 4-game losing streak. I get it. You have to be nuts to let Mike Tomlin go.
No, I agree with you, but it seems like Steeler fans, because they haven't won anything in a while.
But the problem with Steeler fans is they're an entitled group. They don't know what it is to suck. Okay?
I think they're also yes, you're right. They don't at all because they've never had it.
Right.
I mean, literally, it's been 32 years since they've sucked or in any capacity.
32. I think more like 1970 was the last time. Chuck Noll's first year, they won 1 game. I think that's the last time.
It's kind of right.
Sucked.
The consistency goes so long.
Well, I know Tomlin never had a losing season. And
I don't think Cowher ever did. He might have had an 8. He might have had a 500.
Yeah,
year.
it was like a barely like a losing season. So he was 14 years. Tom was like 18 years. It's been over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think the issue in Pittsburgh is that they want the playoff wins, and there just hasn't been a ton of playoff wins.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't won a playoff game in 8 years now.
It's been a while. Is it that long without?
Yeah.
And I think he's only won like 3 or 4 in his career.
He's won one Super Bowl. He's been to 2. And that, of course, that was with Roethlisberger. So
Right. But he lost that one, so that would be two.
He lost to the Packers.
He's lost 5 consecutive playoff games. The last playoff game they won was all the way back in 2016.
And how many playoff wins does he have in his career?
Let me see.
And it's again, he's always in the playoffs.
He's 8-10 in his postseason career.
Right.
8-10. A lot of them early, though.
Right.
I mean, because remember, they got to as you talked about, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years very early in his career, including one at the hands of us. You know, that AFC championship game in Pittsburgh, which I still can't get out of my head.
Sub 500 against the best teams in the division.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, Joe, in that I think they'd be crazy to do it, and they're not going to do it. It seems like it's a yearly rumor of, will the Steelers get rid of Mike Tomlin? But, yeah, look, Brian Flores, Mike Vrabel, to me, are the top 2 guys.
Yep.
And
I'll tell you, I'm down with Rex. I mean, I understand Rex, and the media hates him, which makes me like him even more. You know, even my guy, Mark Canizaro, I love, wrote a negative column about him. You know, Mushnick wrote a negative column about him, and Mushnick doesn't like anybody. But, no, he really doesn't. But whatever. I look, Rex wants to be here. Rex wants to coach our team. He's got a major chip on his shoulder. There's no doubt about that. He's got a lot to prove. He's learned a lot over the years he has not been around. He should not have taken the Buffalo job. We talk about that. Going right from one team to another generally never works out.
But that's the part that's, first of all, I love Rex. Rex is always going to have a warm spot in my heart. He's one of the best coaches of my lifetime. So I love Rex Ryan.
It's not the.
I'm just, probably the. I'm just concerned that it's actually going to work. And you mentioned him getting better. Since the Buffalo job ended, he's just been in TV. Like, has he gotten better?
So
like,
they interviewed Louis Riddick to be the GM, who I like, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's in TV. I like Louis Riddick a lot.
Yeah, but the GM, I think, is a little different because
a little bit.
You're not building. You don't have to build your staff the same type of way.
Right.
You probably can use a lot of the existing infrastructure.
I want a guy that's going to kick tail. I really do. Right. I want that guy. I don't want some, like I said, somebody mentioned to me, Cliff Kingsbury. You got to be out of your mind. Cliff Kingsbury.
Right.
Let him stay in Washington. He looks good with Jaden Daniels as his.
He may end up having the 2 rookies of the year.
Yeah, well,
because Kyler Murray won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Now Jaden Daniels looks like he's going to. So
yeah, he should. He should.
Yeah, but
good
I think
for his resume.
I think he's a good offensive mind as a head coach, as a head guy. I don't know.
No, I don't. I mean, he'll get another shot at some point.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to take some time to rehabilitate.
How do you think this?
He's soft. Kingsbury, I look at him, he's very soft. And we don't need any more softness on the sideline.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right in that, sometimes this happens in baseball where, like, you have this soft personality, then you want a hard ass, then you go soft, and you want a hard ass. It seems like the Jet coaches have been soft for years now.
Yeah.
Too much of this. Too much of just getting away with garbage. Who cares if the players love you? Like, at some point, results matter. At some point,
you don't want the players to love you. You want the players to respect you.
Right.
Okay? You don't want them to love you. You want them to respect you, and you want them to bust their rear end for you. That's what you want.
Yeah. Who do you think ends up being the guy? Like, if you had to guess right now, does it end badly like it did when they hired Adam Gase, or do you think they actually do the right thing here?
I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence in Woody Johnson. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I just think he's going to do something stupid. I mean, what else would make me think anything differently, bro? I mean, I just do. I'm glad they're. This is the first I've heard that they're actually interviewing Flores, which I'm happy about. Now, can you interview these guys now, or you can't? Can you do virtual?
I think you can if they're off this week. So it's only.
But Minnesota's playing, so
Minnesota won't be
right. You could interview Glenn, I guess.
Glenn, yes, because they have a bye week. But again, we were talking about this before the show. It's just so convoluted, the NFL process to find these head coaches, because most of the best ones are still involved in a team. And how do you take their focus away from?
No, you're right. There's one other name I have to. Well, a couple of things. First of all, I do have to clarify. I've been given information that Brian Costello is saying he never said Nagy should coach the team or wants him. He said that's his prediction. His prediction is Matt Nagy.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, thank you so much.
Now,
Brian wants to see the Jets lose in perpetuity. Let's be honest about it.
I hope not. I don't think so.
Well, you hope not.
Doesn't he want to cover bad teams? Doesn't he want to cover good teams?
He wants stories. It's more of a story. Let's kick Rodgers out of town. Woody's a buffoon. I mean, of course. Well, they love that.
I'll give you one other name.
Give me the butt fumble,
The most overrated moment in sports history, but whatever. One other name I have to mention to you because his contract runs out in a few weeks, and the Chicago Bears, according to Sean, you just read this?
Yeah, according to Sean, according to Adam Schefter.
Adam Schefter. The Chicago Bears have requested to interview this guy, Mike McCarthy.
I like Mike McCarthy. I do. Even though he's coming from – and now, first of all, Dallas hasn't fired him yet. Have they fired him?
Well, no, his contract is up.
Oh, his contract's up.
But I read this the other day, and it didn't make sense, but then I realized what it meant. The Cowboys have exclusive rights to negotiate until, I want to say, February 14th or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe it's January 14th.
So, it's got to be January, because if it was February, it would screw McCarthy out of taking another job.
So January 14th, he can, until 14th, he can only talk to the Cowboys. And at first, it didn't make sense to me. But it makes sense.
It's January 14th, okay.
It's so that if he wants to leave, like if he's like, all right, Jerry, I love you, dude. Thanks for the opportunity, but you're crazy as hell. I'm out of here. The Cowboys have the exclusive right to negotiate with him until the 14th.
But he's got more power than even Dallas now because, Joe, if Mike McCarthy wants to leave, he can just leave.
Yeah.
He'd
have to sign with the Jets if he wants.
To the 14th, though.
I like McCarthy. I think McCarthy's definitely – I know he had issues with Rodgers in the old days.
Did you answer? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I'm in with McCarthy. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give you one other guy.
Yes.
That I would be in for, okay? And I haven't heard his name with the Jets or anything like that. Pete Carroll.
Are you concerned that he may be here for just a couple of years because he's an older guy? I don't know if he's going to coach for the next 10 years. Well, How many years is he going to be around?
Win for me. If he wins, he can leave.
That goes without saying.
You know what I mean? I do like Pete Carroll. I know he did coach the team, back in 1990, all the way back in 94, and that was a disaster. Only the 1 year, but you can't go by that. I wouldn't be against Pete Carroll, but I am very intrigued by Mike McCarthy. Yes, I do like. He should have been the coach when they hired Gage.
I know.
That was a massive mistake that they made there. Peyton Manning got involved. Please. I don't want anybody from another team that could care less about the Jets getting involved in deciding who the coach is. I'm definitely down with McCarthy, yes.
It'll be an interesting couple of weeks to see where this goes. Joe, we appreciate it.
One more thing before I let you go.
Of course.
What's the story with Pete? Is he coming back to us?
Here's the story with Pete. All right, here's what I think is going to happen.
Go ahead.
I think we're going to have to wait a long time.
You think so?
I think there's a standoff.
It's a February thing?
I think there's a March thing.
Oh, wow. March?
Yeah. I think this is going to happen. I think this is exactly what happened last year with the other Boris clients. Boris and Pete want 5 years or 6 years or whatever they're wanting.
Right.
The Mets are not even close to that, and no one else is.
Yeah.
So I can't
the Mets offered him 3 years and 90, didn't they?
That's a report. I don't even know if that's true, but they've offered him short-term deals, which I think they're going to offer him continuously. I don't think there's a market for him. So the Mets aren't just going to give in because why do they? There's no market for him. And I think what's eventually going to happen, and it's going to be frustrating because who the hell wants to sit around for 3 months waiting for this?
Well, and as good as that deal sounds, because it's over his AAV that I think he's worth at $30 million a year. Who wants to be a free agent at 31?
Right.
Or 33.
Well, I think it's going to be an opt-out after year one.
Right.
Like he's going to get, Joe, if I had to guess right now, I think we're going to get him back, thank God. And it's going to be just what they call a pillow contract. He gets a lot of money, and he goes back into free agency next year, and we'll see. We'll see how we feel a year from now. You know?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I want him. I mean, there's no
Me too, man. Me too. I want him on this team. I completely agree with you.
Yep.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate
All
you,
right,
Joe.
guys. Take care.